We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tag at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration, it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Central Expressions right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy. My guest today is Carina Reeves. Sensuality, what does that mean? Well, she says love, sex, and relationship and she facilitates that cutting edge mobility is all energetic magic. Now let's look at that energetic magic. Now, how do you get this magic? How do you let this beautiful energy run through you? You have to let your senses awaken. And those central expressions are an expression of who you are and what you are and everything that it can lead to. Sex or just being in tuned with life and riding the energy. She has research shows that have shown 75% of women are reported to be struggling with self-esteem, self-worth issues, and that they have reached their peak confidence by the age of 9. Oh my God. Sex, love, and relationships. It is all about that's transforming women's lives into releasing toxic subconscious beliefs and teaching somatic-led self-love. Self-love, folks, that has to come first before anything else. Before coaching, she was a world traveler, a professional cellist. What is a cellist? Oh, I've got to find out about that.
Cellist.
Cellist, oh, is it?
Cellist.
Okay, see? It's Monday morning, no coffee in here, and dyslexic moment. So cellist. And we're going to be discussing about what she learned about all those beautiful energies that she experienced, not only playing the cellist, but also traveling so much, because it really does ignite all those wonderful senses in you. So let's dive right into the energetic healing. Let's dive right into our senses. Let's dive right into how we can facilitate that into our beingness. And as we discussed before, having wonderful spaces in our life of nothingness and just allowing our senses to feel, to touch, to taste, to be, without us dictating or putting the clock on it or demanding it do this or demanding it do that, because that's when we truly and utterly connect with ourselves, isn't it, Carina? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm so excited for this conversation. We're going to have the best time. We're going to awaken all the senses. It's happening.
Yeah, I but people kind of just think just see, touch, hear, and feel, and then they downplay their senses so much, don't they? They downplay all these wonderful tactile and feeling and expressions and everything that's inside of it that makes us who we are. So no wonder we don't have good self-esteem, and no wonder we don't have self-love, because we're not igniting ourselves in order to feel it.
Absolutely. And, I just want to acknowledge that if you're resonating with, you're right, I'm not igniting my senses. I wish I was igniting my senses more. I just want to name how normal it is to hide from high sensation, because a lot of us are carrying, I'm just gonna come right out of the gate and say it, a lot of us are carrying some big, small t, sometimes big T trauma. And when you start to let yourself feel, most women will start to tap into an ocean of sadness. You'll start to feel your rage, you'll start to feel your grief. And so one of the things that's so powerful about this shift is your willingness to go slow, your willingness to be where you are. There's so much rushing to make the $10,000 the millions, or to get the ring on your finger, or to get the 5 pounds off. There's like so much rushing. And what I have found over and over again, and if anyone else feels this, please put this in the comments. I'm sure that there's lots of all the wonderful platforms that we're going to be on. Where are you waiting to tap into how you're feeling until you get the thing you want?
Okay, folks, of course, we had a tech issue there right now while she was speaking. Her beautiful face was stationary, and it may happen today. The internet gods may decide to have a little of their own sensuality. But well, don't worry, we're here on top of it, and the information is still going to flow and be divine. I loved what you said there about, it's we're so busy. Why are we so busy? What are we chasing? We're all chasing to be connected to ourselves, to have a meaningful life, to be purposeful, to feel loved, to have
Yeah,
that exuberance of life. Why are we
yeah.
chasing it out there?
Because we've learned to hide
Mm.
from out there. We've
Yes.
learned that out there is where we're judged,
Mm.
is where we don't get the raise that we want, is where we're rejected in love, is where we feel embarrassed, is where we feel ashamed. And so we have this, especially for women, I'll speak for women because that's what I know best.
Right.
We have this loop that starts to happen where I have a negative feeling.
Mm.
Therefore, I did something wrong. Therefore, I should do that better before I head back out into the world.
Mhm. In case
And
I'm
the
going to get judged
shift,
again, right?
yes, yes. And well, before I say my remedy for all of that, one of the biggest pieces energetically you can shift into is willingness.
Hmm.
And here's the hard thing, it's willingness to have the thing you don't want. And here's what that looks like. It doesn't mean you want it, doesn't mean you're asking for it, but the reality is you are going to get judged. We all get judged. Too fat, too
Yes.
thin, too tall, too white, too black, too loud, too
Mm.
soft, too
Never
smart, too
enough.
dumb, too rich, too...
Yeah,
Never.
never enough.
For someone else. But
Exactly.
that is the shift. That is the magic. When you start to allow your feelings
Hmm.
where you are in this moment right now, I call it listening, right? I call it
Mm.
like accepting the moment, and you let that come through your senses. So literally pausing, like, what am I feeling and where is it in my body? Is my heart pounding? Is my stomach
Mm.
dropping? Are my I don't know, is my breath kind of like fast? Like literally tracking what's happening in your body brings you to this present moment.
Yes.
Um, that book, The Power of Now, took the world by storm. It was
Yeah.
literally, people were like, wait, now? Like now? Like right
Yes.
here?
I don't have to prepare for anything now.
No.
Just being present in the moment now.
This moment right now. But this moment sucks. This moment hurts. This
Yeah.
moment is sad. This moment doesn't look like how I thought it was going to look. And letting yourself... Okay, so here's one really important thing. If we've been through a week, a month, a lifetime, 100 lifetimes of not letting ourselves feel,
Hmm.
of not letting our of being in survival, there is a huge concept that is this word that's so important. It's called titration.
Mm.
And what it is if you picture like a camera lens, right? You can make it like with low light, you make it really wide open. Or if it's really intense, like sunlight, you make it really small, right? And F16 is really, really small. Titration is doing that with your feelings.
Mm.
You don't have to do it all at once.
Yeah.
You don't have to feel... We don't want you to be in a tsunami of feelings.
No.
You want to be in your capacity, right? You want
Yes.
to you want to be able to be in your capacity. In psychology, they call it your window of tolerance,
Mm.
right? You want to go up to your edge, but you
Yes.
don't want to tip over.
No.
You don't want to capsize the boat. You
Yeah.
want to ride the waves. You don't want to sink.
Well, it's like, it's what I'm always saying is about our emotions. They're there to indicate a reaction or going through something. And if we
Yeah.
acknowledge that emotion and go, okay, where is this coming from? Why am I feeling sad today?
Yeah.
Am I picking up on something that's going on outside of me? Is
Yes.
there something inside of me I'm not paying attention to? Don't look at your
Yes.
emotions as an enemy. They're there as an indication. of how you feel. It wants you to acknowledge it, pay attention to it, nurture it, or do something about it. But the worst thing you can do is become emotional about your emotions, because
Yeah.
now you're being irrational and you've forgotten what it was all about in the first place now because you're just emotional.
Well, and there's some interesting, like, so what if our emotions get to be irrational?
Yeah,
So
as
the
long as they're
irrational
spending
part,
themselves and we're not stuck in the irrationality, spend it, get through it, but don't stay in it because then that comes the victimization, right? Staying in that negative emotion.
I wonder if actually it's a question of what you do about it.
Yes, yes.
Right? So I'll have an emotion come up that doesn't make sense.
Mm.
It doesn't feel in proportion. It feels like it came out of left. Everything's great, right? What's the joke that we have? First world problems, right?
Yes.
I shouldn't be upset about this. This is no big
Exactly.
deal. And yet, you will be having some really big feels. Here's something I've noticed in relationships is that when I feel the most loved and safe, that's when some bigger emotions get to come up that are the least rational,
Hmm.
because you're finally in a container where enough things are calm that this new thing that's been waiting for some
Yes.
space can come up.
Hi, can I come up now? Is it safe to be
Yeah.
vulnerable? Yes.
Yeah. And if you have that voice that's like, you don't make sense, you're not allowed to be here, here's
Hmm.
the shift. Wow, you don't make sense. Why are you here?
Hmm.
What do you want me to know? What is this piece that doesn't fit that now has room to be seen and felt and heard? And that space to building that capacity to be able to listen to ourselves, you gotta go slow.
Yeah.
You've gotta go slow,
Pay
especially
attention, right?
especially in relationships. And so
Yes.
sometimes it's not always the right time, right?
No.
If you've got, a 2-year-old running around, or you
Yes.
have to leave the house in 10 minutes and you've got 20 minutes of things to do, like, you're in go mode, that's
Yeah.
okay. But so much of going to a yoga class or having a coach or having a support group or having drinks with friends or having a spa day is actually giving your nervous system a chance to sort of settle enough that the things that need to come up can.
Yeah.
Did you know that in physics, if you shake, if you have big things and little things, if you shake it, the little things go to the bottom and then the big things come to the top. So
It's
it's
like
like when
cream,
you
isn't it? I remember the bottle of milk being delivered in England, and the cream would rise to the top, and then if it was cold enough, it would push the lid open, and you would go and get the bottle of cream on a cold day and find that it's a couple of inches above because it's solid mass, right? So really, you're looking at our problems,
solid
they're more
mass.
solid mass. And so the other problem, the other issues
Yeah.
may be a reaction to that solid mass. So you have to pay attention to it. You have to
Mm,
slow down and be in the moment. And
mm,
sometimes it's something you're carrying with you and you go, what the hell am I carrying that for? Why am I carrying this? And
mm,
maybe what I actually need, because somebody said something that
mm.
wounded me, and now I'm carrying it around and making it a big, pimple into a mountain. Maybe what I need is just someone's arms around me saying, it's okay, you're loved. Or maybe we need to do that for ourselves. Put our arms around ourselves and say, it's okay, you're loved.
You're loved. And those feelings, even though on the one hand they don't make sense,
Hmm.
in a way bigger way, just trust that they make sense. I maybe don't know why they make sense, but I'm going to listen. I'm going to digest them. I'm going to do the titration just as much as feels like within my window of tolerance. I can just hold it, and I'll just, yeah, when there's time, like when you're running around there isn't time, but building that time into your day where, meditation is incredible. I don't think meditation, for me, meditation isn't about getting quiet.
Right.
For me, meditation is about noticing where I wasn't quiet and coming back to myself. It's
Mm.
actually the noticing and coming back to the quiet that is what meditation is really about. Do you agree?
Yeah,
Do you find that?
I do. It's also kind of the silence and the darkness, right? When I'm in silence, when I'm in darkness,
Mm,
that is when I have a clearer picture because I don't have everything else flashing around me.
yeah.
Right? So I'm not a person to sit down cross-legged and
Yeah.
in meditation. That is not the way I meditate. I have to keep my brain busy
Mm,
doing something else while I can go into that space. And music does that, nature does that. Even just sometimes watching my 2-year-old grandson play,
mm,
he is so deep in his toys and what he's doing. And you can see little expressions going on in his face as the little story that's going on behind that, and fascinated him. I wonder what that story is. But he's in his now, he's in his space. And I love that nothingness of darkness and silence in order to have a clearer picture. Because what you really need to know in the moment will come to you at your stillest, at when you are the most present.
yes.
So I think there's all different forms of
Yes, that's when
meditation.
the
I think
little pieces get to calm down. Yeah.
yes, yes. It's allowing, isn't it? Allowing. Because we don't allow ourselves to have that time. We don't allow ourselves to have that space. We feel, well, if I'm not being busy and I'm not being productive, I must be a lazy person. Do we think that our gurus
Yeah,
and
but
our
I think it
monks are
comes back
lazy?
to what I yeah, right. And it goes back to what I said at the beginning. So we're not going to allow that time to get quiet if it's too scary.
Yeah, yeah,
If we've because we've never if we have felt like we haven't been there before. I can't tell you how many times a woman has said to me, but what if I'm so sad I never feel better again?
yeah.
Right? Those are real, that is a real fear. And what is beautiful about the work of being in your body, being in your senses, tracking your capacity is that when you do just a little bit, when you do just a little bit of feeling, okay, you have to remember, you have to let your brain work for you. Your brain is your servant.
Yes.
Your brain is your servant, your heart's servant.
Hmm.
So when your heart is feeling pain, let your brain serve your heart. What do you need? And talking to yourself like you probably wished you'd been talked to when you were a kid. What's wrong,
Yes.
honey? What do you need? You
Yeah.
okay? What's going on?
Yeah.
That tone with yourself,
Hmm.
oh, it feels so good.
Yeah.
And then we're able to teach our partners, our children
Mm.
even, because we'll talk that way more to them then.
Hmm.
And we'll talk about ourselves in kinder ways. And it starts to be this whole cycle that builds of kindness from the inside out,
Yeah.
right? Not rushing over what's coming, but being kind with ourselves with what that's real kindness. I mean, it's one thing to help somebody with their groceries, loading their car. That's lovely. That's lovely. But it's quite another thing to like, do you know what would you do if you see someone who's crying like at the
Mm.
bus stop? Like, what do you do? Do you stop? Do you rush by? Is it embarrassing? All of your feelings that come up around somebody else in crisis, there are threads of that is also how you are with yourself. Can you just sit with someone? Can you just sit with yourself when you're having a hard time? And that builds so much trust.
Mm.
That is where the allowance starts to expand, because if I can be with myself when I'm having a hard time,
Hmm.
then I can also trust I can flow more of the good times, because let's be honest, growth is growth.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you're growing, you're also going into you've never been there before. You're going into unknown. It might be amazing. It might be more money. It might be
Exciting.
falling in love. It might be
Yes.
buying your dream house.
Yes.
Exciting. And you've
Yes.
never been there before. If you haven't practiced being with discomfort,
Yeah.
you will hold back the good things too.
Oh, absolutely. And it's, the
Yes.
I just written my memoir, and kind of in editing and going through it, I realized that there is a thread of sadness going all the way through it. And the sadness is because I'm a very spiritual being growing up. The sadness was part of why, as human beings, when we have been given everything, this planet has provided, the universe provides us, everything we need is within. Everything we need. All we have to do is reach in and acknowledge it and embrace it and become it. Why are we so cruel to each other? And the other sadness is why can we not see each other for who we are from the inside out? Why are we so hung up on the exterior? And I realize that it's been, my lifelong and past lifelong observations. And it's more and more that we actually step into our knowingness, which is allowing our channels to open up and receive that beautiful wisdom from the universe. God, universe, spirit, whatever you wish to call it, energy, whatever, coming through you. And it resonates with the heart. The heart gets excited and it gives it to the spirit to get into action. And the mind then knows what it needs to know when it needs to know it. And then you can take that action to fulfill whatever it is you're meant to be doing in clarity, in confidence, without any need of validation, justification, or approval, because you know you're in truth.
Mm.
But to get there, we
Mm.
have to be willing to look at all the things that are holding us back. And I've been there. I spent 8 years in the darkness trying to get out. Becoming the biggest problem was I was becoming comfortable in the darkness. Like, I don't want to come out,
Mm.
right? It's scary out there. I don't want to come out. And then when I did come out, it's so bright out here. And then feeling the shadows chasing me. But the more and more I immerse myself into the light, the more and more I realize when I go into the dark now, which I do a lot, I am the light in the dark. I don't need to be afraid, but I had to face the fear, face the sadness, face everything else that I felt was against me,
Mm.
and release it and allow my essence of who I really am to be, to become. And I know it's scary. I know it is, but it's scarier to stay in a place where then apathy comes in and you simply stop caring. It is so much harder to come from apathy to open yourself up again and feel than it is to come from anger or pain or sorrow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Those you can heal. Apathy is another thing altogether.
Yeah, not caring.
Yeah.
Not caring, right? It's um the freeze. It's in a relationship that's dying. You don't
Yes.
care anymore.
Right.
Yeah, not caring is really, if that's starting to happen, that's really valuable feedback that you're you're not, the life force is leaving.
You're not in tune
Life
with your
force
senses
is
anymore.
literally, you're not in tune with your senses anymore.
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So, one of the things from everything that you said just now, though, of all the things you get to do, it's a whole nother thing when you do them in
Mm.
relationship,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's a whole nother thing.
A
It's,
different
even when you
planet,
are
all of its
feeling sort of
own.
that, and that planet seems to, you might feel like you're figuring your stuff out on your own,
Yeah.
but there's nothing like being in a whether it's with our parents or our kids or our
Yeah.
lovers, being in a deep connected relationship where you care.
Yeah.
It brings up, oh, that will bring those big things to the surface to
Hmm.
look at like nothing else.
Yes. Should I care too much? Is he going to turn out like Joe did? But what we do, then we invite that, don't we? Because we're so afraid they're going to be what the last relationship was like, energetically, we invite that.
Yeah, it's true. So if you have a fear, there is, just like at the beginning, there's a willingness to have that fear. So
Yeah.
instead of, oh, I'm afraid that's going to happen, I'm afraid he's going to be like
Mm.
Joe, what if he's like Joe? Da, da, da. I
Yeah.
feel like it's like a very graspy
Yeah.
energy. So instead, if you're willing, like, are you in or you out? He
Yeah.
could be like Joe. You kind
Yes.
of don't know till you get started. You really
Exactly.
don't.
You
So
don't know.
just decide you're in or not. That's fine
Yes.
either way. But if you do decide you're in, then you're just like, oh, well, I hope he's not like Joe. But if he is like Joe, then I'll deal with it. And
Well,
it's just, it
if you
lets everything relax.
yeah, but the thing is, we're not willing to try something. We're not willing to discover how awesome something can be. Not willing
Yeah.
to try a new job, not willing to try a new relationship, Just because you've had a bad experience in the past, don't look at that as a door closed to having any other experience. Look at it as lessons learned. Now I know when the trigger comes up, what that means. I know, I
Mm.
know that if this door opens, but another door over there, it looks like it's Fort Knox. I can't open that one. Okay, I can go through a window. It's
Mm.
about being willing to explore, because if we're not willing to explore, we're not willing to experience. And if we're not willing to experience, we're not going to have all of our senses lit up.
Mm. Yeah. Yes. And there's a piece around the energy of noticing.
Hmm.
There was an interesting energy of noticing, letting it be an allowance of
Yeah.
noticing, as opposed to, oh, there's that thing I don't want.
Yes.
And then the doors slam.
Yeah.
Instead of doors slamming closed, relationships really thrive in curiosity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it can take a minute. Like, we might still slam the door closed at first, but then if you do some of the processing that we've been talking about, letting yourself be in your capacity, letting yourself digest, letting yourself like feel and be in your feelings, you step out of judgment and you start stepping into that noticing and curiosity. To me, noticing and curiosity are like the opposite of judgment. It's the same
Yes.
thing. You
Yes.
said something that hurt me. Am I going to judge you as wrong and bad and mean and a horrible person?
Hmm.
Or am I going to, wow, that really hurt me. I wonder why you said that. And I wonder what got triggered in you. And I wonder what
Yeah.
got triggered in me.
Yes.
Like, but that is asking a lot of our nervous
Hmm.
systems. It is. And so that space of going slow in a relationship, learning how to
Mm.
connect in your relationship around those things without that hot, um, I call it weaponizing,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
When we're like, how could you do
You,
that? How
yes,
could that was
you
the
did.
worst.
Does that get anybody anywhere? No, it puts the hackles up, doesn't it? And everybody gets into defense. What happens when you're in defense? You shut down. You're
You shut
weaponizing, you shut
down.
down. Are you
You shut down
communicating?
or you attack,
Or you
right? So
attack.
you
Exactly.
fight or flight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we get any accomplishment there? No. Well, and again, back to the pimple and the mountain, is that it was a little thing. Didn't put the toilet seat down properly, or said something, or didn't pick up, wash the dishes. A little thing that you've mountainized. And it's like, well, that may be your beef. And you can just say, I've just got to think about it. Could you at least take your dishes to the kitchen? Right? I'm not here,
Yeah.
your head cook and bottle washer. We're in this together. And if they're aware and they care, they will do. If they don't care and go, no, that's your job, then there's a reason for your feelings went the way they did, right? But if we're not going to pay attention as to the why it's happening, then it's just going to get something that's going to get monumentous.
Yeah, that's really true. There's so much good stuff in there. And there's even more room, I think, in what you were sharing. There's even more room for talking about it.
Yes.
So I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, so I grew up in the 80s. I was born in the 70s and 71. And and even then, like, everyone was talking about communication.
Mhm.
Communication, so you got to communicate. Communication is so important. But as I've become a coach and moved into the most incredible relationship of my life, communication can also mean communicating how terrible I think you are. That is also communication.
Yes.
That is not what we want to be doing.
Right.
The communication part, the talking part is, oh, I thought we had an agreement that we would take our dishes to the
Mm.
sink. Can you let me know? Was that not, were you in on that agreement? Did you forget? Like, just help
Mm.
me know what's happening for you. And then they can share. Maybe they don't care about the dishes.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not a big thing for them. Maybe you want to restructure how you do the chores around the house.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many different ways of doing something. But until you talk about what you'd like from open hearted desires and what their experience was, why they did the thing, I can care about people a lot and still forget to take my dishes to the sink.
Exactly. But it's also going back to don't assume, communicate, ask, right? or humorize it. Hey,
Oh,
mate, I
yeah.
haven't got the sexy little apron on. Take your dish to the kitchen. Right? There's so many different
Mm,
ways that you can do things. Um, and because sometimes it's not their pattern.
yeah.
And so if you're wanting it to become a pattern, then, humorize it. Don't make it look like it's a blame or a shame. Just make it look
Well,
like, it's something, hey, come on, let's do them together.
and
Invitational.
that's what, yeah, that's where your senses come in again, though,
Mm.
too. Because if you have had a hot reaction, if inside
Yes.
you were thinking, are you kidding me
Yeah.
again? Like,
Uh-huh.
if you have that, I don't think you could sound like the nicest person in the world. You could sound perfect, but they would feel it.
Yeah.
They would feel that push, that judge, that resistance, that resentment. They'd
Mm,
feel it. And I love humor. I
mm,
absolutely love humor, but I think it's all of our own jobs
mm.
to be honest about if our senses have had that kickback. My ex, he thought it was a great idea to tease me about things he didn't like, but it always had a jab in it.
Oh, yes.
So
I'm
then
one of those
he would
too.
get to he would get to say, "Oh, you just don't have a sense of humor."
Mm,
and I was
right.
and I would quote Ellen DeGeneres, and I was like, "Honey, if we're not both laughing, you're not doing it right."
Right. I like that one. Yes. Exactly. Like, do you see me laughing? And it also is it's like when somebody's been drinking and then out comes their truth. And then when they're sober, no, I didn't mean it. I don't remember saying that, and I didn't
Mm,
mean it. And I go,
mm.
but your truth came out, when you were drinking, and that you can't take that back. You've revealed how you feel. And if people don't take ownership, okay, instead of like, okay, I wasn't aware I felt that way. Let us look at that. Why am I feeling that way? Let us really look at what the problem is. Is it me? Is it us? And what can we do about
It's
it?
such a cycle.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
such a cycle because so when that tsunami
Mm,
of emotion comes up, that guilt, that shame, that resistance, our first instinct is to protect ourselves. So if we haven't done the work of being able to sit with those uncomfortable feelings, of being able to feel the feelings even just a little bit at a time, then when our partner magnifies
yeah,
and mirrors that for us, we want to kill the messenger,
yeah.
right? And so all of these pieces go together, and the more you can, I have a process, actually. I call it, well, I first started calling it notice, feel, accept, which is what it is. It's a
Hmm.
notice, feel, accept process. And then I started calling it frustration to flow.
Hmm.
Because what happens is when you're not fighting, when you're not arguing with
Right.
reality, you actually get to, that's the space when you stop pushing against it, that starts to let things soften, so
Hmm.
that you can look at what's happening. Wow, I'm really mad that you said that. That really hurts. Is a totally different energy than same words. I'm so mad that you
Yeah,
said that. That really hurts.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's again is that if love is enough, and I think this goes back to our own self-worth and our own self-love, if we truly do love ourselves, and somebody does come up with something that is hurtful, but we don't identify with it, we
Mm,
don't take it on.
mm.
We realize maybe they're speaking from their space of lack, their
Yeah.
space of
Always.
frustration. They're imposing it upon you, but it isn't really about you.
Yeah, I love that. I love having that be a belief.
Yeah.
That if somebody is saying something hurtful to me, that it's always about them. I'll look to
Mhm.
see if there's any lessons for me too,
Yeah.
absolutely. But if someone is like, I can feel that they're trying to hurt me, that they're like weaponizing, then, oh, you must be really hurting that you're wanting to attack me. That's the only reason why people attack. It's the only reason. It's because they're hurting.
Yeah. I used to say to my ex when that started up and I had already vibrationally grown and wasn't going to kind of get piranha, as I called it, sucked the life out of me. I wasn't allowing that to happen anymore. So when it raised its head, I say, please go and talk to the mirror. It's the only one interested. Because
Mm,
you want to get nasty, go be nasty to the mirror. I'm not taking it. I'm not taking it. And when you're doing that to yourself in the mirror, have a damn good look of
mm,
how ugly it is. And do you really want to represent yourself in that way, or do you want to deal with it? Right?
mm.
Because
I'm
we
sure
don't.
he didn't want to hear any of
No, I'm
that.
sure he didn't actually look in the mirror either. So denialist. But the thing is, we've really got to sort out our own BS, and we've got to look at, is this BS that we've stepped into this belief as a form of defense? Have we stepped into this belief because it's what we were brought up with? Are we in this belief because society has told us? Is it past life belief that we're carrying around and we can't identify it? But the whole idea is like, have a look at that belief and whatever package it comes in and saying, do you serve me now? No, I wish you well. Goodbye. And it's that severing of that belief as not being a part of who you are now. It's liberating, but people don't really understand that sometimes it can be as simple as doing that because that belief has been so heavy for so long, they don't realize they can send it back to Amazon, put it in a bag and post it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what my modality, energetic magic, does. It
Mm.
releases subconscious
Yeah.
beliefs. And, as powerful as that is, and I think it's essential,
Yes.
absolutely essential,
Clean
I
yourself out
think,
in order to fill yourself with love, right?
right, just
Yeah.
like food. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And water. Um, but I think that there's a lot of confusion over what functioning well actually looks like.
Hmm.
So we'll see, influencers on Instagram, best hashtag best life, and it's true. But here's what my partner and I have found is that our ability to move through difficult things together is what makes things incredible. It's
Yeah.
not that everything's perfect,
No.
is that we've learned how to move through difficult things together. Like, we share what's happening. We do not attack. It is like,
Right.
we do if we take a tone, it is our responsibility.
Yeah.
It is never on them. So if I take the tone, within I can't even count, feels like less than a handful
Yeah.
of, we've been together
Monoscule.
almost 4 years. Yeah, like, it is not a habit. And we both take responsibility for that. And I think we're both harder on ourselves
Yeah.
than I think maybe a couple of weeks ago, I sort of got a bit frazzled and I got a bit short. And, 10 minutes later, I was like, I'm so sorry. I was snappy. He's like, where? I didn't even notice.
Right.
So
Well, that's when you're
to me,
riding on the
that's
same wavelength. And
lovely.
that is love. And you're riding on the same wavelength, right? You're traveling together. There's a beautiful picture that I captured. Is a man and a woman, and they're facing each other, and the face in the middle is another face. And it's like your strength, his strength as individuals. But when you come together as that one, it then becomes your collective strength. And it isn't abstaining or neglecting your own or your own needs, desires, or anything else as that beautiful individual. It's like two beautiful instrumentalists. You can play beautifully on your own, right? Music is transcendent, but when you come together in harmony, in sync, it is like fingers locked, unbreakable, right? And then you are so utterly in tune with each other that you are far, far likely ever to do something nasty to each other, because to do so would also hurt yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And getting to that point is work,
Yeah.
of processing and practicing being in the moment, feeling your feelings. It will even be annoying. Let it be annoying. Let it be annoying. I'm like,
The
oh, these
mosquito, the
feelings.
mosquito.
So many feelings, all these feelings. And then you can take a break from the feelings.
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of a little Netflix. No problem.
Right.
But go back in.
Yeah.
Go back in, because that's where the magic is when you can practice moving through the feelings together. I'm convinced that we would get tired of chocolate cake all the time. And sometimes that's what best life always looks like,
Right.
that
That's
if
the
it's,
treat.
that's the treat.
Yeah.
We went out for, he took me out for the most beautiful dinner a couple nights ago. We don't normally go out, and some things came up. But it was perfect because we moved through those things
Mm.
together.
That
He
is the
he
point, though, is it? Going through it, not getting stuck in it, but going
Yes.
through. And life is about fluidity. Energy is fluidity. Our senses is
Yes.
fluidity. It's got to constantly be in flow. If we
Yes.
didn't allow our bodies oxygen or blood or energy to flow within our bodies will break down. And this is
Yeah.
why a lot of people have disease because of that
Mm.
energy not flowing. When we
Mm.
allow that energy to flow, we'll address things as they come up and not take them personally and not take them as attack. Be able to address them lovingly and caringly so that they can clear the path for you to continue on with the flow. It's about keeping the flow alive.
It's such a revolution, though. It's not
Mm,
our instinct. We are not wired that way. We are not. I just want to name that. If you're like listening to this and like, sounds good, but even how do I do
yes,
that?
yes,
How do I do that? And that's, I'm sure all the guests that you have on have beautiful practices, and that's the thing. You have to move beyond. You have to be willing to go into new spaces that are actually, the how isn't just buying a fancy new bag, as lovely as
yes.
that feels, right? As good as that feels, the how is often a little bit messy, right? It's
Yeah,
feeling some discomfort. It's it's moving through these moments. And there's a wonderful story. There was a film made of a mom and her baby. She had a new baby, and we like to think of happy life as just being this wonderful space. And I do believe that universal love
mm,
is that is the,
yes,
like, just this, it is like a, a wave or a river or an ocean of experience that I believe you can tap into even when you're having a hard time. So
yeah,
that is there. But when you're, especially with a relationship with a newborn, it used to be thought that it was just this glow that you would have in
yes,
a relationship. But what they found when they took these mini videos is that the baby would cry and the mom would get grumpy, or something would happen, and then they'd repair. They'd come back
yes,
together. Relationship is about discord, just like music, right?
mm,
Just like with my cello playing.
mm,
It, discord, and then you come back together. And that breathing into having difficult things come up be what you do together is part of what knits your trust with each
mm.
other.
It's the
You're,
pulse.
you're still mad.
Yes,
The anger is still real. You're still pissed off, but you have built this trust that you can feel that, share that as your experience,
hmm,
not their blame, even as you might have an ask of something you'd like for them. Then it lets you come back together because you've practiced that stretch and that repair, that stretch and that repair. Repair is, people need to talk about repair more. Repair is gold.
your body needs to go into a deep sleep so that it can repair, right?
Yes.
So our psyche needs to go into a deep space where it can reflect and repair what the
Mm.
obstacle is in the way. And we can't repair what we don't know. And that's why we need the space to reflect on what is bothering us before it becomes out of proportion. Because when we
Yeah.
really do look at it, it's like, really, that's not a big deal. Why did I think it was a big
Mm.
deal? Or, you know what, this is a big deal. It's
Deal
something that I
breaker.
know is just going to keep pushing my buttons. This needs to be repaired or addressed, and it
Yeah.
cannot be brushed away or just, oh, it's okay. I can deal with this each time. You don't
Yeah.
want it keep coming up. So if we're not paying attention and if we're not allowing that space, that place in order to observe and see what it is for what it is, how are we going to repair it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or even
Naming
acknowledge what needs
something.
repairing?
Yeah. And it might be a little, sometimes you don't know right away. Like,
Mm-mm.
I've had times where I'm like, I don't quite know what's wrong, but something's
Mm.
wrong. Can we talk through whatever happened the other day? or I'll bring it to meditation, or I'll bring it to, you know, a body work process that I'm doing. I don't even know what's wrong. What is
Yeah.
it? And sometimes it's some of those bigger pictures, you know, oh, it's an anniversary maybe, or
Mm.
oh, last year this time I was doing this thing with my parent or with my kid, and I'm not doing it this year, and that's hard. Like there's
Hmm.
so many threads that
Yeah.
weave through our lives.
But we have to,
Oh,
we have to look at them, and this is what engaging the senses in. We
mm.
don't block the senses, oh, I tasted this food and it was dreadful and I'm never going to taste anything ever again. It doesn't work that way,
I think
right?
a lot of people do though. I
I
think that's
know.
exactly what a lot of
Yeah.
people do. My I They're like, well, I never want that to happen again. So
Mm.
I'm never going to do that again.
Doesn't work that way, does
And
it?
it, well, it's such an edge, right?
Yes.
Because I could choose to never do it again with that person,
Yeah.
you know, like in relationships. But to
Hmm.
go back in. Maybe Thai food isn't my. I love Thai food, but maybe you
Yes.
know you don't eat Thai. You had a bad Thai food experience. You don't eat Thai food for a while. That's okay. But you're going to eat again. You're
Hmm.
going to see what foods you do like. You're going to talk to your body. You're going to connect with what feels good, right? And the more you go back in and listen and go back in and listen, the more you're talking with your body. One of my favorite things to think of with your body is getting her back on your team.
Yeah.
She's not in
Working
your
for you and not
way.
against you, right? Yeah.
Even more than for, I think of us working together. We're
Yeah.
working with each other. She is my vessel to experience life. If I can fall in love with my stretch marks
Hmm.
and my wrinkles, and that I wish I could run a little longer when I'm like with my kid, like then if I feel that desire coming up, if I come to her with love and I'm like, I would love to run a little bit longer or faster. What could we do? And she's
Mm.
like, she feels like excited to meet, like things will start to manifest. That's when things start to manifest, is when you are in a space of love with yourself and your body and your sensations, and you have a desire.
Yes.
I love you, body, and I want to run more. Can you tell it's spring? And I'm like tired of being on the couch
Yeah.
inside.
Set me free. No more
Please.
snow.
Yes.
Yeah.
That being with each other, having each other's back, staying in your window of tolerance, right? Running is uncomfortable, but I can do a little bit, and I can do a little bit every day, and I can do a little bit more. And if I treat it like a game and if I make it fun, then I'm not yelling at my body. Like
Yeah.
listening to your thoughts with your body is very confronting. You know, it's so easy to be like, I hate this. I'm so stupid. I wish I hadn't done that. Why did I do that? Like, there's so many things that we berate ourselves for, and
Hmm.
it is just, I cannot encourage enough. You can even make it a little practice. I'm going to put this in, Matt and I, my partner, we're putting this in our next relationship course that we're just making right now. We're going to have you like take a little notebook around and
Hmm.
just write down your thoughts. They are so the water you breathe that you
Yeah.
don't notice them. And you're like, okay, I ate like a second piece of cake. What did I tell myself? Like, okay, I got up late. What I stayed up. Oh, I doomsday scrolled. What did I tell
Yeah.
myself when I was doing those things that I know I'm not supposed to be doing or that I don't really want to be doing? What are you telling yourself? Our beings want to be loved with honey. We don't want to be hit with sticks and vinegar.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be loved and nourished into good things.
Well, of course, when we're going into a relationship, we want to show people, um, you know, here's the honey spoon. I am
Mm,
honey. But
mm,
if we go in looking for someone to complete us, to
mm,
define us, then
mm,
we're giving them confusion. When we are in a relationship, we want someone to complement us,
mm.
right?
I love
Not
how that word
compete.
is a
Is
pun.
beautiful. When you complement each other, you bring the best out in each other, right? And that means that
Mm.
you're good for me, you're good for me, we're good for each other. But because we've
Mm-hmm.
both done the work to get to this higher frequency of love, of self-love, of choosing to live life lovingly, that
Mm.
when we do come together, all of our senses are alive and we
Mm.
complement each other. But we can't look to someone to complete us or, to fix us or define us. That is our job. That is what we're meant to do ourselves. And that doesn't mean we don't support each other in a relationship when we have hard times or struggle times. That's what the relationship is about. But we don't want to come with our dysfunction and expect that relationship to work as honey unless we are the honey. So you've got to become the honey ourselves.
Yes, yes, we do need to become the honey ourselves, and our relationships will bring up our stuff. So there's a dance that happens
Mm,
of appreciating the good things, doing what works, being able to stay in communication and in honesty. And then when big things come up, you've built that framework that you can ask for help or support with each other as you move through
mhm.
difficult things. It's it's such an interesting, it's a bit of a paradox
Yeah.
really. The more you allow it to be okay
Uh-huh.
when things aren't okay, then it's okay and you move through it together. But when it's not okay for something to come up that you don't like, then that's that layering you were talking about. Then you're mad that
Mm,
you're mad, or you're
mm.
sad that you're sad, or it's hard that it's hard. All of those kinds of things. I I think that when you start hearing your words that you say to yourself, and when you start hearing the words that you say about the people in your life or your partner, it is such an opportunity and an offering for us to reflect on and do more work on ourselves. And it's such a powerful gift to have someone who can support and be with us through that work. Matt and
Mhm.
I don't feel like we've finished working on we never want to finish working on
No.
expanding the
Yeah.
love that we have.
Yeah.
And
It, it,
part of
it's not
expanding that love is
complete, right? It's an experience that you continue to have. And it's an
to continue.
exploration, it's an adventure. That you're going on together. And when you look at it like that, then you look to each day of what each day is going to bring us. What each day are we going
Yes,
to explore and discover today? And if it happens to just be a day of being busy and blah, okay, that's fine.
it's fine.
We've got always the next day. Or I mean, the exciting thing is having somebody that you can share your day with. Do you know what happened today? I had this a great experience with this client, this, that, etc. And the other person is just as excited as you are, because they're in tuned to your joy.
You know what I think? I think because they're in tune to themselves, they're able to
Yeah,
be present. Then they can be in tune with my joy.
yeah.
There's so many relationships that feels like people step over themselves
Hmm.
in order to give the other person what they want. I like watching relationship shows on
Hmm.
TV. The Love is Blind show is so hilarious, so much fun. And you see people stepping, oh, you can see it on their face. They're saying yes, but their whole energy is
I
a
say
no.
no. Well,
Their whole
the desiring an end result without kind of understanding why do you want that result? Do you think
yeah,
that result is going to be resolve everything of the turmoil inside of you? Because
nope.
that's what people think, right? Oh, if I just get a ring on it, it's going to be all okay. I'll live happily ever after. Disney told me so,
Yeah,
right? Then that's when the work begins, baby. It was actually begun before, but it's we're so afraid of this is why in life we're chasing the destination and forgetting the beautiful experience of the journey,
even when it's painful.
even
I'd
when it's
rather
pain.
be I'd rather be here really fully feeling something that's hard than shoving it under the rug,
Yeah.
making that rug really bumpy that I know I'm going to trip on later in order to have everything's fine.
becomes a piece of furniture like a couch itself for all the things shoved underneath there. I mean, I'm sure as a
Basically.
cellist, playing your music is if you were all one note or if you were all over the place, you're not
Mm,
being connective with the audience, right? It is
yeah.
generally kind of starts off slow and builds up and allows us to take that journey to elongate with the high and then gently kind of come down with the low and be left with that euphoric feeling um,
Mm,
uh, afterwards where you really feel, oh, I really felt that. I
oh, I
really
love
felt
that.
that, right? But you
Hmm.
don't just go out and just start playing, the years and years of practices, right? The years and years of your own discovery as you play it, and the years and years of experience that you pile into it of knowing when to go up or down, or this is just needs to go forward. And it's that experience, however the conductor is leading you, so your experience of what you're going to bring to that instrument.
Mm, that is so true. And you can tell. You
Mm,
can tell when there's a musician who is playing the notes,
yes,
sometimes very well. And
exactly.
you can feel the musician who's like who's
Yes.
who's who's flowing with the energy of the audience. Who's giving to whose heart is connecting through the music with the
They
audience.
are the
Oh, I love
music.
that so
I have a
much.
For the Love of Music show as well, and I love interviewing musicians for the reason is they aren't in a journey to search who they are or why they are or what they're here to do. They've become the music when they play or when they sing. That is their identity. It is they are that music. They're sharing their heart and soul every time they perform. And when they're not performing, the glow of that performance is so them. They are continuing
Mm.
to perform even after the performance. And I'm always very envious of that beautiful feeling of really knowing yourself so well, your own instrument, and living for that experience. Because I think if we could live for the experience of what life brings us, good or bad, because when you have the bad times, and then you have a good one, you get through the bad time. This is a good time to pause, turn around and look. Look where I was a week ago, a day ago, a year ago.
Mhm.
Look where I am now. Why am I here?
Mm.
Because I gave myself credit that I could do it. I was willing to work on going through it. I gave myself enough love and support and belief that I could get through it. So therefore, I am here because of me. And the people around you, yes, but because of me, because I was willing.
Mm. Love it. I love it. I love celebrating. I love
Mm,
celebrating, getting through big things, little things, celebrating each other. In my Facebook group, Goddesses and Jeans, celebrate all the time. It is vulnerable
yeah,
to say that this thing, even seeing something that I didn't like actually, and naming it in community with other people, with myself, that's a celebration.
yeah.
I, my partner and I talk about the 4 stages of change. I don't know if you've heard about this.
I
So the
don't
four,
have to. What would
oh,
that be?
I don't know, I think I might have heard it on a podcast, but we've like really run with it. 4 stages of change are so amazing because we love the belief that if I should just do it, then I've got it right. But change is way more complicated than that. You have to name what you want to change,
Mhm.
and then often the first few times you won't even see where you could have changed. It like passed you by. You're like, oh, that was it there. That's the
Yeah.
second stage, when you see after the fact
Mm,
what you could have changed. The third step is where in the moment you see that you could change, but it's still too hard. You're
yeah.
just, you're not ready yet. That's still a celebration. That's still
You've
part of the
acknowledged it.
stages. Yes.
Yes.
And then the fourth stage is actually seeing it in the moment and changing. And change moves, it's not like one and done.
Yeah.
The next time you might not see it again, and then maybe you do, like it but letting yourself be in that evolution of change,
Hmm.
as opposed to shoulds,
Mm.
blames, have to's, lets it be much more of that discovery that you were talking about, which is so beautiful, and the being kind to yourself as and lets your partner understand too. Like if you've asked for something and they've said yes, but they like didn't see it in the moment, that them acknowledging, oh my gosh, yeah, I totally could have done that and I didn't see it in the moment. That is still them on the path of change if they're open to
But it
it.
means next time they won't miss it because they're now aware.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
maybe they will. Maybe they'll miss it the next five
right,
times, but it's
exactly.
part of their commitment to finding it. Yeah.
That willingness to learn. I think, one of the biggest thing is being aware that change is needed. And to also being aware that change is inevitable. Resistance is futile because change is happening around us all the time.
Yeah.
So we may as well go with the changes, and therefore it won't be so painful. And why are we so afraid of making those changes? Because of the four-letter word fear. And why is fear so relevant? Because, or so dominant, is because we don't know what that next moment's going to be. So I'm going to be afraid of it. So therefore I'm not going to do it because it's something fearful. It's purely because you don't understand where you're going. But when you're more in tune with your journey in life, and you've gathered this skill and this tool, and you've thrown it in your backpack of life, and you become more aware, fear loses its power because now it does become more about exploration of the what if, not the what if, the what
Yeah.
if. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and then we look at fear and go, I respect that you're going to stop me from walking in front of a bus. Thank you. I respect that you're going to
Please.
tell me when there's danger nearby. I'm going to pay attention to that kind of fear warning, but I'm not going to let you stop me from opening the doors of discovery and seeing what's on the other side. It's getting to that, right? Having that conversation with fear. Do you find that for most people, that is the fear to love themselves, the fear to get anyone else to love them, the fear of trusting who they are or immersing themselves into something, that it is really the fear that is the blockage, the fear of the unknown?
I think the fear of the unknown, all of those questions you just had, what I hear from women is they don't know how to do those.
Yeah.
The fears turn up much more practically, like I'm afraid of being judged by my
Mm,
mom, or I'm afraid I'll lose my partner. So it is the relationships being pulled apart that mean a lot to people, that is the number one fears that I hear. And then the fear of not being able to figure it out.
hmm
And that's where having someone who, you know, just starting with a method, just
hmm
try something that someone is teaching. There's so much amazing people and methods and information and things
Yes,
out there.
yes.
If it might sound strange, but I really encourage people not to let is this the right thing for me
hmm
hold you back. If
Right.
anything in you feels curious, open,
Yeah.
if you can afford it, just
Yes. Explore.
start practicing
Mm-hmm.
something, because it's by taking small regular actions
Mm-hmm.
that we move towards your goal. Most, overnight successes are 10,000 hours plus overnight or
Yes.
10 years plus overnight. So
Yes.
whatever, even if you learn what doesn't work for you, that actually is still helping you learn what does work for you. So just starting a meditation practice, starting reading
Mm-hmm.
some of those books, starting working with a couples counselor that you enjoy or a couples coach, letting yourself have some sensuality practices, letting
Mm-hmm.
yourself name what you're experiencing in your body and practicing shifting into curiosity
Mm.
with it. These little micro practices, I'm such a fan of weaving micro practices into your day. I Maybe one day I'll do one of those 10-day silent retreats. Yeah, it could happen. But most of us have full lives,
Yeah.
and oh, I don't have an hour to spend is very valid, but you have 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You have 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And to let yourself come back to yourself too. That's why we love showers. That's why we
Mm.
love drinking coffee, because it's
Mm.
warm around
Yeah.
our cup and we get to feel it on our lips and going into our bodies.
Yeah.
It's,
Taking that
weaving
breath, right?
micro practices.
Yeah. Taking that breath. Just
Mm-hmm.
even, if you're at the office or at your desk all day, just stop, close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths and be present with self. Align those chakras.
See what
Just
you
be
notice.
be in that moment. Do something nice for yourself for a moment, right? And it's we're so busy again being dutiful that we forget
Mm.
that we have a duty to ourselves first. Because if
Mm.
we are not paying attention to ourselves, then how can we help anyone else?
Oh, that word duty is awful. I, 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 I'll go with commitment. I'll make a commitment to myself. I don't like duty. Oh, you went. I can't hear you. Something has happened.
I pressed the button because I coughed and didn't come back. So when you're committed to what you're doing because it's become your purpose. It's what gets you up in the day. It's what your driving energy force is. That is
Mm.
commitment because you are compelled to
Mm-hmm.
do it because it means so much to you and the results that others are getting because of it. Duty is when you're doing it because you feel it's expected of you. And you've
Mm.
put that
Mm-hmm.
expectation upon yourself to fulfill the needs of others' expectations. And I think that in many, many ways is a form of slavery because now you, out of
Mm.
duty, is sacrificing yourself to fulfill everyone else at the expense of self.
Yeah, yeah. Those days need to be done.
We don't want to be there, do we?
Nope.
So, how do you,
No.
in your practice, get people from that sacrificial lamb that many of us have, become into a place of loving self-value and recognizing what they really do want, finding that courage and strength to go after it? How do people reach you, and what kind of programs do you offer them to help them
Yeah.
from that mindset?
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. So I post tons on Facebook. You can find me there, Carina Reeves, and my website is carinareevescoaching.com. And the first place I would recommend to connect with me and to practice this being in calm presence with yourself is a little freebie you can sign up for. It's my pleasure. It's called my frustration to flow practice.
Hmm.
And you can get it at um, everydaygoddess.love. Everydaygoddess.love. And I would love to hear how this practice works for you. It is really a profound shift from judgment and shame into allowance, acceptance, and literally flow, like it says
Mm.
in the title, like frustration to flow. So that would be such a pleasure. And my partner and I right now are building the Relationship Revolution
Hmm.
program. And if you are having things coming up in your relationship, in how, ideally you're not like on the brink, you're not on the brink of disaster, but you can feel that there's some habits, there's some loops that keep coming up. You can feel where
Yeah.
there's places where you want more expression of your desires, of
Hmm.
your flow, of your passion with life, with your partner. So those are the things that I have cooking right now. It would be such a pleasure to welcome you into my world by trying this practice and connecting in these places. I'd love that.
That's the big word you used there was passion. If we
Yes.
haven't got passion for life, and it doesn't mean it has to be full force and on, 150 all the time. It
No.
is being on the path where the passion can put itself in a higher gear, but also can still drive around in the first gear and still be something, again, that purpose, that passion, that commitment to doing and being, because
Yes.
it's where the love is. And where the
Yes.
love is, that's where everything's going to grow.
Yeah.
So, the importance of.
Yeah.
Um, so to spell her name for those that are listening, it's Carina Reeves, Reeves coaching.com,
Yes.
CarinaReevesCoaching.com. You can reach her Transform at CarinaReevesCoaching.com, Facebook, Carina Reeves 3, Instagram, Carina Reeves, and of course you've got the Everyday Goddess, where you have that program there. You know, everything.
Everydaygoddess.love. Yeah, it's dot love is a new, it's like dot com. So
Right.
it's dot love. It's a new suffix. Yeah,
Oh
which I
yeah, I
thought was
like
so,
that.
how gorgeous is that, right?
Yes,
Dot
I
love.
love
Yes,
that.
please.
Yeah. And the thing is, you don't have to stay where you are. If you're unhappy, you just feel, I think I'm happy. If you have to ask yourself that question, then, generally, no, you're not. Well, I think I have I think he's a good man, but you're not feeling it, then you're disconnected from those senses. And we want you to express those senses in every which way. I think for some people, it's not so much the anger or the injustice or the feeling of the judgment, it's that they've stepped into blah. Again, the duty of
Mm.
life has overtaken them so much that they wouldn't know joy if it slapped them in the face, because it's, well, now I got to go do the dishes now. I got to go and put Johnny to bed. And then I got to go and prepare with so-and-so's homework. And then I've got to go and do this. And it's all gotta, 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 gotta. And it's like, well, where is your time? Where is your time to actually be able to look at little Johnny and enjoy watching him play, because you're too busy doing, and that can become so very blah. And I think knowing that, observing that, and then willing to take that path back into your own self-love and joy, then that can ignite it in your partner and just ignite it in your family and ignite it in your life, and then joy's with you wherever you go, right?
Yes. Oh, thank you so much, Sarah. Yes, I highly recommend it. It's really fun.
It is, it's the love generator is when you become the love, you're sharing the love, and even in the sharing of the love, it is regenerating your love. But you've got to remember to have first and foremost that love of self, which is not selfishness and not conceit, not narcissism. Narcissism is when you demand love from everyone else, at the expense of them, not because you want to enhance them. So that love of yourself is your honeypot. And, whoever you're handing the spoon to to partake of that honeypot, make sure that their own vibration is on the way up, because then you can really journey together and navigate through all those hiccups and potholes and avoid the Grand Canyon. Right?
I love
Potholes
that.
are fine. You can get through those. Grand Canyon might be a little harder to climb out of.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. What an incredible time together. Oh,
Well, thank you.
and there's my
Avon
kids.
calling. You're right.
They
There's the
just arrived.
pizza.
Perfect. Those are my
Well,
kids for Easter. Okay.
thank you so much for being with us. And to everyone else, remember, it starts with you. So invest in you, reach out to Carina. And until next time, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tag at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.